Who are you? Beneath the expectations, the labels, and the societal conditioning, what does it truly mean to become you? I'm John Fleming, the founder and lead practitioner of Becoming You. I created Becoming You out of a desire to share my own experience of becoming myself and to support others who are curious about who they are. From a young age, I have been driven by a desire to figure out who I am, why I'm here, and how I can belong while being myself. This is Becoming You, the podcast. Conversations about uncovering, embracing, and being your true self. A place where I dive deep into what it means and what is required to live life as your most authentic self. Through real, honest, and grounded conversations with professionals and people who are walking the path. If you're curious about identity, authenticity, and personal freedom, your own or others, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
So welcome back to season 2 of Becoming You, the podcast. And the theme for this season is uncovering our authentic selves. A guest for today's episode 1, is our marvelous host, John Fleming, in all his abundance. Hi, John. Welcome to your own podcast.
Thank you. I have to laugh, because I've obviously purposely chosen to be the guest on the first episode of each season, and I love that. Welcome to your own podcast.
It feels like a really appropriate thing to do for a podcast that is focused on authenticity. It's like, why not be a guest on your own podcast? It's exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
So, as you may know, when you have a guest, your guest gets asked a question that your last guest asked, put forward into the ether, right? Not knowing who the next guest would be. And it just so happens that the last guest on your podcast was me. And if I do say so myself, the question was genius. So the question is, what has your body taught you recently that you didn't know?
That feels like a big question. My relationship with my body and uncovering my relationship with my body has been a process, to say the least. And I would say not in like a hypercritical way, but just more of a checking in with reality way. I haven't treated my body very well in my life. I have been very critical of it. I've told that it's horrible, that I don't like it, I don't like the shape of it, I don't like how it feels in clothes, I just don't like it in loads of different ways. Like, it's endless amounts of criticisms I've placed on my body. I've projected a lot of things onto my body. I've had a lot of things projected from other people onto my body. And this question of like, what has your body taught you feels like a real challenge, because my relationship has been at times so punitive with my body that I'm like, my head, when you ask that question, my head's like, what do you mean what your body taught you? I've taught you everything you know.
That's right. That's right. Totally.
Yeah, so I have to name that out loud, because that's the first thing that fucking happens when I get asked that question, is my body doesn't even get airtime. It's like my head's straight on the case, and it's like, who is this person asking the body something? That's just a thing that carries my head around. I think I've said this before, and it's not original idea of mine. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere else, but I just can't credit where I've heard it. But for a lot of my life, I was a walking head. Just a head with legs. And deepening my relationship with myself has meant really identifying that I have that spiral staircase in my neck, and walking down, or attempting to walk down, sometimes maybe falling down, sometimes running back up into my chest cavity, and really getting more access to my heart and my feelings and my gut and my somatization. 2 years ago, I switched from doing more dialogue-based therapy to somatic experiencing. And that's always felt difficult for me. So when you say, what has it taught me recently that I didn't know? It's been many things recently, because I feel like I'm in the depths of doing body related work at the moment. And one of those things is that Just because I used to be able to do things doesn't mean that I have the capacity to be able to do it now. And that's been a challenge for me because of my internalized ableism, accepting that I might not be able to move at the speed I used to move at, carry all the things that I used to carry, travel as frequently as I traveled, on and on and on. Just because I used to be able to, that does not mean that I have the capacity to do that. And that teaching has been a really difficult period of acceptance and reflection for me, which I feel like is ongoing. My internalized ableism often gets inflamed. The outrage, it has moral outrage that I might rest.
Yeah, wow. There's something so interesting about the sort of the images that are coming up about that sort of that inflammation, almost at the indignity of not being able to like function at 1,000,000% consistently all the time. And that the truth of the inevitability of change. And in this sense, what your body sounds like it's shared with you, like significantly, is that change to do less than.
What I really enjoy about my body, because as you've been responding to what I shared there, I noticed that I went inwards and was connecting with my body, but like from the inside. And one of the things that I really like about my body is that it's so calm. It's like, I'm not going to get into a fight with you about this. I don't do fighting. I don't do conflict. And it just keeps gently saying, I can't do that. It's not like stamping around. It's not contributing further to the inflammation. My head and my mind is doing that all on its own. It's very capable of doing that on its own. My ego is just like, and my body is just totally like, okay, cool, fine. It's not getting into it. It's not getting pulled into the internal game.
I'm thinking about the word uncovering because as we were sort of getting ready to start this episode, that word is the theme for this season. And how it sounds like your body almost uncovered this inevitable process, this inevitable change, and it was just patiently waiting for you to like, here we go. We're like, whenever you're ready, John, I'm just here waiting to give you the truth of things or the internal knowing. And that makes me think about this episode that you want to do, because when we were talking about the boundaries around it, your hopes for it, there was a lot of uncovering that was happening just in the getting ready for. And I'm wondering if you would like to sort of step into some uncovering for this episode, the way your body has uncovered its truth for you now.
So first of all, it's a really nice invitation, and something that's getting stimulated for me, which is like a connection, which I'm not too sure I had fully made, because, you know, I'm always seeking ways to make new little connections. I'm like, oh, and something that I talk a lot about is my physis, my life force. I've had challenges, more than a few. You could say I've navigated adversity from a young age, and I also came to realize in my late 20s that there's always been this life force within me, like this very resilient, life-full part of me that was seeking to live, that was seeking to really be me. Like I think of the metaphor of a seed or a bulb and it's sprouting up through the ground, and it's like I've always been breaking through. Yeah, I just really want to honor that part of me, because that part of me is so vital, and it's the part of me that really motivates me, pushes me forwards, keeps me doing the personal work, because it's like, this will be worth it. There is something to be got out of doing this, you know, because there's been so many times that have been so bleak and frankly where I've not wanted to continue on, but there's always been this part. And I've just realized through our conversation, that part of me is totally somatic, that part of me is in my body. That resource, life force part of me does not live in my intellect.
So for someone who isn't familiar with the word somatic, when you say it lives in your body, what you're saying is that it's not up here, it's not words, it's not sentences. It speaks some other language?
Yeah. It's like a known, implicit part of me that I got in contact with when I was quite young. And I shared a little bit about that in season 1, episode 1, when I talked about the mirror experience that I had when I was 8 and how I really came in contact with myself through an experience of seeing myself rather than seeing my reflection. I looked in this mirror hundreds of times, presumably at this point, brushing my teeth. I was 8, so literally hundreds of times, maybe even thousands. And on this particular day, on my own, I saw me instead of my reflection. And it was a life-changing experience because in that moment, I felt like, oh, cool. You know, like, this is really cool. This is so weird, but like, so weird, I'm really fucking intrigued. And I kept going back to do it again and again and again and again and again because I was like, this feels different. This is interesting. And I think that what I was getting contact is that part of me, that vital, resourced, life-seeking part of me, which is part of my uncovering story because I uncovered that at 8. I didn't know that was there. I probably knew on some unconscious level that was there, but I had a very conscious experience. So when I talk about uncovering, what I'm talking about is bringing things to conscious awareness. And the value that we get out of bringing things to conscious awareness. Like, for me, uncovering something is about pulling it up from the unconscious and being able to say, oh, you know, dust it off, hanging it in front of yourself and go, oh, what's this? What's this that I found down there? And that day I pulled this part of me that really lives here on my breastbone, my diaphragm. That is just like when I connect with there, where I also sometimes talk about it being the essence of myself or my soul. I use all of those words interchangeably. My physis, my life source, my essence, my soul. For me, they all mean the same thing. And yeah, I think that's probably where my uncovering began.
And I'm really conscious that as you're describing finding your physis, I'm imagining that in an uncovering process, that there is extraordinary beauty and discoveries in that sense, and also like extraordinary pains and shocks and maybe even horrors. And what is that like to go into uncovering with what I'm hearing, both feet? Like you're jumping in. I don't hear you've got one leg on the shore and one leg in the surf.
That's such an interesting question because I was 8 years old, so I don't know if I can actually really answer that. My overwhelming sense of that moment was, this is really fucking cool. I was like, awe-inspired. I was like, this has got me going. Like, whatever this is that's going on right here, right now, I'm into. This is stimulating me. This is meeting my need for stimulation in a way that's really appealing. Like, I've always been preoccupied with why I'm alive. I only have a certain amount of time, that we are all on a spinning rock in the middle of the universe that's circling around the sun. Like, when I think of that, I'm just like, what is the meaning of being alive? Like, I find it, in one sense, really super cool, and in another sense, kind of like, this is the weirdest thing ever.
I'm just noticing what a wonderful autistic conversation this is right now. To be having quite a lengthy conversation about this experience of being alive, and also the beauty, the autistic beauty of you pulling out your physis or having, like, that's really fucking autistic, John, in the best possible way, you know?
Oh, thank you for validating my autistic nature. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it is in a way, in lots of ways. I think I had, for a period, not at 8, but for a period, had some spiritual bypassing going on about that experience. Like I was some sort of chosen one, or that I was special or different in a way that made me special, that sort of thing. So there had been a period of kind of like spiritual bypassing. But actually my autistic identity is a much more helpful way of me understanding why I may have been having that experience. And also how that fits into the broader evolution because of what we're seeing now, like with things like the telepathy tapes and children who are born having different experiences. I was born in 1989 and I was definitely having a fucking different experience to my peers. There was not many other 8-year-olds, I suspect, in the area I grew up in, rural Ireland, from a farming community, that was looking at themselves in the mirror and going, oh my God, you're alive on this spinning rock around the sun. What's all that about? They were probably playing Ga and hanging out with their friends and interested in other things. So I definitely had, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm autistic, maybe there's other reasons, I don't know. I definitely had a different experience and have continued to have a different experience to the majority of my peers in uncovering who I am.
So if we were to look at your life from the point in time we are now and looking back, and that we're holding it sort of lightly, like I'm Australian, right? So I think of panning for gold. You put all this stuff in, you pan like this, eventually something shiny comes to the surface, right? But like if we were doing something like that with you right now, what are some of the things that come to the surface for you that feel important to uncover?
Really nice question. I love the idea of panning for silver or gold. I think at this point, what would be really helpful for me to name are a few things. First of all, I'm probably going to talk about some things now that are like trigger warning. I'm going to talk about my lived experience. Some of my lived experience may be difficult to listen to. If right now is not the right day for you to be hearing things like that, then don't continue listening to this episode right now. Come back to it another time, or actually just go, do you know what? I'm good. I'm going to give this one a miss. Second of all, I'm going to share these things not because I feel like I need my story validated or I want to tell my story, rather because I firmly believe in being visible. I think it's super important. I actually have a poster on one of my walls that says solidarity is our visibility. I love that because for me, being a person of subjugated identities, being a gay man, being autistic, being an ADHDer, having very different experiences like the one we just talked about when I was 8, has in some ways often left me feeling isolated or separate or different in a way that I haven't felt included in life. So I feel a responsibility on a professional level to kind of say, put my hand up and say, look, this is some of the experiences I've had. You're not alone. There's many of us out there who have had different experiences, but we don't always speak up about it because it's difficult to speak up about it.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm speaking up about it because I want other people to know that there's other people out there like you.
It's almost like we need to pause and just sort of let that sit there. There's other people out there just like you. And I wonder, John, you know, as you were considering telling some of these things, which you will soon, I imagine that you looked after yourself in particular ways to allow yourself to do that from a place of like groundedness, and sort of like your body probably told you, John, here's what you need to put in place for this episode to feel sort of smooth and safe and to offer whoever's listening what they need to hear. Would you be open to sharing some of the things you've done for yourself to allow this conversation to be had?
I've been thinking about having a conversation like this for a long time. So one of the things that's really important for me is because I do have that contact within me with that part of me that's full of resource and life, is I really pay attention to it. So I haven't rushed this. I could have. And there's definitely parts of me that were like, do it now, do it now, do it now. And I'm like, no, I'll do it when I'm ready. When all of me is ready. So I feel like I'm showing up today in a very whole way. I feel quite integrated. I'm 20 years into doing psychotherapy weekly. I've invested hugely in my personal and professional development. And doing it now from a place of wholeness. I'm not seeking to get anything back from this. I'm doing it as an open offering. Yeah. That feels different because there is probably a time in my past where I would have been doing it hoping to get something in return.
So there's that sense of coming from a place of wholeness and groundedness and building on a foundation of 20 years. Like you said 20 years, I was like, oh. And a part of me was like, how many years have I got? Oh, definitely John's done better, right? It's sort of like that sense of, wow. Yeah, that sort of appreciation for the investment. So you're looking at yourself here and looking back all these things that prepared you for this conversation. We held the 8-year-old John at the beginning of this. What comes up for you that feels like a solid demonstration of solidarity, of visibility, that it gives something back and makes the world, this is a real sort of cheesy expression, makes the world a better place in some way, right?
You know, it's like something flashing now where I'm like, oh yeah, that's significant. So if we kind of fast forward from 8, right, loads of things happen between 8 and 14. But if we fast forward to 14 is a very significant age for me. 14 is when I began therapy. I started therapy at 14 because part of me I talked about a while ago said, you need to find help. If you want to stay alive, if you want to keep living, then you need to be brave, be courageous, and you need to tell a trusted adult that you're not okay and that you need support. You need to talk to somebody. So I did. Which again, I look back and I'm thinking, you know, for me at the time, it just all seemed so like normal, kind of like, why wouldn't I do it? But I look back on it now from like my helicopter being older, me going, you were such a fucking cool 14-year-old. I did not appreciate you as much as I wish I had at the time, because that was like 2003 in Ireland. And again, I don't want to be like repeating myself, but I lived in a very rural farming community. Mental health was not even something that was being talked about. So the idea that I would ask for help and that I had no thought in my mind that request wouldn't be met. Like in my mind, it's like, I'm going to ask and I'm going to get it. Positioned myself outside the staff room in my school one day. I think it was lunchtime. Looking for my year head. I was in second year. I told my year head that I wasn't okay and I needed to talk to somebody, and she said, okay. Then I started seeing the school chaplain, who was a great guy called Father Dave. He was a Catholic priest. Super cool guy. Very worldly, not very priesty. And he knew how to speak to me, which I was super lucky about. Yeah. It's like I landed on my feet. I've often described myself as a cat because I always seem to land on my feet. So life hasn't always been enjoyable or easy, but I seem to end up in the right place at the right time with the right people. And I saw Father Dave for the rest of that year every week. And that's when I started sharing what was going on, which is that at the time I was living in a challenging environment at home for many reasons. And that I had all of these feelings, sensations going on, and I didn't know what to do with them. And what that was manifesting in is that I would go to lunch every day, and about 15 minutes before lunch was over, I would start getting an anxiety attack, borderline panic attack, where I couldn't cope with the thought of going into classes after lunch. I didn't understand why. I just knew that that was what was going on. I didn't even really know what anxiety was, I think. So he taught me some breathing techniques. We talked. He spoke to my parents. And I went on summer holidays. That was fine. I think I got a job that summer with a landscape gardener. Worked like crazy amount. Got a load of money. Bought myself a laptop. All the fun things you do when you're a teenager.
Yes, success.
Then went back into school the following year, and it was just like, oh, this again. Now, bearing in mind, I do not know that I'm autistic. I do not know that I've got ADHD. I have no idea that I'm neurodiverse. I don't have a lot of support or resource available at home. And there are other challenges in my family around that anyway. So I wasn't going to be getting any support at all. So I think what I uncovered there was, oh, you can find ways of getting what you need. I was resourceful. It was like, if I needed it, I'd be able to go find it. And often that did not involve my family. I found a way to get it for myself.
If these episodes have been sparking curiosity in you about your own identity, then I've got just the thing to support your exploration. I'll be facilitating an Uncover You online workshop on Zoom very soon. This will be a space to gently explore uncovering who you authentically are. This workshop is for anyone ready to start or continue their becoming journey in a grounded, reflective and supportive group space. Find the link in the show notes to book your space now.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like, again, us autistic people, there is so much that is not mainstream about us, isn't there? And this demonstrates again that there's not only are there challenges in our intersection with the world, like that sort of friction, but there's also these like gems or strengths that we have. And I really hear that you backed yourself.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I mean, I've got so much perspective on it now, but I don't know what was going on at the time because I didn't know everything I know now.
Yeah.
Back then. And sometimes I wonder, like, what would have happened if I hadn't have gone looking for support? It could have been so easily that I would have just gone, no, you know? But I was like, no, I want to reach out instead of retract. And that's kind of the story of my life in terms of uncovering. Because now, ever since at any given opportunity where there's a moment to reach out and to pull something cloak down or uncover something, I find myself being like, oh my God, I wonder what's under here. I wonder what that's about. I'm really curious. I'll give that a go. I'll try coaching. I'll try IFS. I'll try TA. I'll try somatic experiencing because I'm like, oh, I've become really comfortable with the idea of uncovering things because I started at an early age.
There's two ways we could go here, John, you know, because on one hand, like there's the pull towards the, John's journey of uncovering. And then on the other hand, I feel drawn back to this sense of our solidarity is our visibility. There is something here that feels really important. Maybe those two parts are the same path. Like as I described that to you, like the drawing towards this sense of solidarity or drawing towards the chronology, where do you feel like the right way to go? And also being conscious that like we could talk forever about this. And also like there are people whose ears are listening.
There's probably a kind of a middle ground in that because I think that the solidarity has been something I've been probably in pursuit of while uncovering.
Right.
And that's been solidarity with myself and others. And I think like I'm not professing that this is like the Bible, you know, or the gospel according to John or anything like that, because I don't believe in the right way or the best way or anything like that. I think there's always options and you choose what works for you. But uncovering for me probably has always been a pursuit of solidarity in some way. Sure, there may be something that's hidden or that's challenging that I have in some way not been ready to see yet. But also beyond that in the uncovering, there's strength, resource, opportunity.
And you know what's interesting is I'm sitting here with you and I didn't know this was happening, but at the end of the last episode or during the last episode, like I uncovered some things about my life, right? That I said in passing sort of thing, which were important and big and related to consent violations, right? And what I realize as I sit here with you now is what I feel like draws me and allows me to sit here with you is that sense of solidarity, like being in this together. And while our life experience may not be the same, there is something that reaches out from you to me and says, this person understands suffering or challenge or hardship, or this person is brave enough to do uncovering. And I'm savoring that, like sitting here with is it possible just to sit for like 30 seconds and appreciate just the simple bravery that rolls out from an action like that. And what message it sends. It sends to me and maybe to the people that are listening that this person can hold complexity and my hardship because he talks about his hardship or she talks about her hardship, or there's some sense of needing to be met at a similar level of something.
Yeah, that really resonates. I feel like we need to find solidarity in our suffering. I think the challenge is that sometimes the way that gets met is a kind of a communal trauma dumping. And that I get that, been there, done it, totally understand why people would do it, not criticizing that at all. And I also know that it doesn't help. What, for me at least, has helped is not of ain't it awful and here's all the bad things that have happened to me and now you can tell me all the bad things that happened to you. But like you just said, a recognition, even if it's just silent, a recognition that I see that you have been in pain or that you have been castigated or persecuted or abused or subjugated in some way. And I'm a person in the world that will name that and that will say, I see that and that shouldn't have happened to you and it's not okay. And I'm not really interested in persecuting those responsible for it because it's not my role. But it's to say, like, I see that and I get it.
And to be able to do that for others, what have you had to do for yourself, or what have other people needed to assist you with to allow you to do that for yourself?
Yeah, that probably like sends me back towards the chronology again a little bit. But without wanting to get into kind of like the detail of it, if I did like a full circle moment back to my physis, what I've needed to do is to trust that part of me that although this may be very painful, although leaning into it might feel counterproductive, although I might get loads of messages and invitations by society and all of the people in my life to go, oh, don't do that. That doesn't seem nice. I know what I need to do and that I'm willing to follow my instinct. I want to say intuition, but sometimes it's not intuition. Sometimes it's just pure instinct because I don't even know. I have no idea why or what, but I just have to trust that there is this small piece of instinct in me that's like, ooh, do that. And I'd love to say that I'm really brave and courageous because that would like suit my ego really well and be like, oh yeah, I'm so brave and courageous. But I don't consider myself a brave or courageous person at all. What I consider myself is really willing to follow my instinct in the pursuit of healing so that I can have a good life. Yeah. And I'm curious about what a good life is. Because that takes me all the ways back to again of like, why are we alive? Why do we only get like 60 to 90 years? What's the whole purpose of that? And then you look at what's going on in the world at the moment and it makes that even more challenging because the sense of meaningless I personally experience in the world at the moment is quite big. You know, I often battle with those existential givens. This pure sense of meaninglessness because I'm somebody that loves all day long to make a meaning out of things. So when I'm faced with meaninglessness, I'm like, oh no, not that again. And so the circle goes. But I'm enjoying the ride.
I just got a sense of John's preferred fairground ride is something wild with meaning, and then sometimes he finds himself on the little merry-go-round with the little horses. He's like, this has no meaning here. Well, maybe I'm going to make meaning. I know, it's just sort of like this funny little vision I got.
Yeah.
Do you know, with respect to the length of this episode, because we have been talking for a good amount of time, drawing this to some sort of resting place before you ask the question of the next guest, what feels like a place to land or to rest, given that there's been words around here like instinct and intuition and curiosity, but also like that very impressive long list of about 10 words you used that were riffing on the subject of suffering. They were so amazing that I couldn't even like just get my head around them. Going from being 8 to 14, like, where do you feel is a place to rest or to at least pause?
I think that uncovering yourself is a lifelong process. I don't think that it's necessary. I advocate for it. Hell yeah. Because I see from my lived experience the immense amount of value that I have got out of being willing to explore what is otherwise unknown about who I am, my experiences. And that's taken me on some interesting journeys. And sometimes those have been really painful and hard and challenging. And I have definitely gone through the dark night of my soul more than once. And I've been to places that I would never want to go to again, frankly. And in all of that, I feel alive. Like I feel alive because I'm having a human experience. It doesn't always have to be nice. I've come to realize I was often in pursuit of happiness. It's just like, I just want to be happy. If I could just be happy all the time. And now I've changed my objective to being alive. I want to be alive and experiencing and living. And for me, that's what uncovering is about. It's an enlivening experience. The more I uncover, the more alive I feel. And the more alive I feel, the more I want to uncover, because it's like it's cyclical.
Yeah.
So I'm a really big advocate for uncovering. Now, some people might think and say, oh, it's just like navel gazing, or like some things are better left alone. You know, you're just picking the scab or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I am. I mean, that reminds me of my mum so much, because that's what my mum would do. She just wouldn't let something alone, you know, and I kind of have a lot of my identity is shaped around my mum. I'm very similar to her in lots of ways. So I love the pursuit of something. And I can definitely testify that it's brought me to places of solidarity with myself, with other people. And it's profoundly changed my life. I don't know who I'd be or what my life would have turned out like if I had not made that decision at age 14 to ask for help. I was in a horrible place. And all I know is that when I began asking for help and started uncovering things, that changed. That's a truth from my perspective. And they changed for the better.
When you started to uncover things, life changed. And I want to echo back or repeat back something you said, which is very simple and also feels quite profound, which is, I want to be, quite simply, I added that, alive. Alive. And you chuckle at that, and I chuckle too. And yet there's something very delicious about the bar being so low. But it's not low. This is the thing. To be truly alive, what you're describing is the savoring and the pain and the whatever of whatever comes, whatever is under. I keep going like this. For some reason, I think of a duvet, like uncovering, like peeling back the duvet. Like, yeah.
And that's what's authentic, right? Because once we start adding on extra bits, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy, or I want to be satisfied, or I want to be fulfilled. That's, for me, what pulls us away from our authenticity. Because authenticity, for me, isn't necessarily nice. It often has the connotation of like, oh, it's so lovely and yummy all the time. Authenticity can be a real bitch.
Totally.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
because it feels real and I enjoy the realness of the experience of being alive. I didn't always, by the way. And it wasn't that long ago when I would have felt differently if you're having this conversation with me. But I'm pleased to testify that I've got to a place where I'm really getting kind of like, yeah, I'm in for this. I'm invested. I'm up for it. I'm committed to experiencing my aliveness, whatever that throws at me.
So as we stand on the platform of wanting to be or discovering that to be alive is amazing, I'd love you to sort of pay forward this question that the next guest is going to be asked, which you will be asking them because you're the host of this podcast. What question would you like to ask your next guest, John?
The question I'd like to ask is, what role has vulnerability played in your journey to becoming your most authentic self?
And I don't know if anyone else's brain is doing this, but it's almost like I've taken that question, I've rolled back through everything that you've talked about in this episode and putting that lens on it and going, oh yeah, place of vulnerability. So I can't wait to hear what the next guest says. John, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing a part of your process of uncovering.
And thank you for coming in and taking on the role of hosting and holding space for me, because that also feels like a real gift. And I really value that.
You're welcome. I'm letting that land. We didn't discuss how this ends, except maybe to say it ends. Yeah.
Exactly.
Take good care, everyone. Take good care, John.
It's a bit like life, right? You're alive and then you're not.
That's right. Over and out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. I'm curious about what this conversation has stimulated for you. Thoughts, feelings, curiosity. If this episode intrigued you, hit follow to be notified about new episodes. I know these conversations are valuable to me, and if you think they're valuable too, please do leave a review. Leaving a review allows more people to discover the podcast. You can scroll down to ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and click write a review. You can also connect with Becoming You on Instagram and TikTok by searching the handle at becoming_you__. The links are in the show notes too. You can also visit www.becomingyou.ie to explore the idea of becoming yourself. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.